Okay, hello, and welcome to the A.D.H.Deep-Dive, the show that's not about ADHD, but is filled with proof it exists. My name is David J. Mund. It is early as hell. Well, for a podcast, it's not really that early. It's like 9:30. I did not wake up too terribly long ago. I'm also doing the super cringe thing that TikTokers and influencers have been doing lately, where you take your lavalier mic, which would usually be clipped onto your shirt and pointing up to your mouth, and I'm just hooking it onto something so I can hold it like a little microphone on a stick. And right now it's literally on a stick. It's on a drumstick. So if you're watching the video version, check this out. Whoa! I'm using the Neewer NEEWER CM28s. I usually use that for guest episodes, and I have my regular microphone set up. Brothers and sisters, I've been lazy as hell shooting the podcast lately, rather than trying to make it a whole production. It's more about the substance of the conversation, not the substance of the background. If you're watching the video version, I'm also in my bedroom right now. Gus is passed out on the bed next to me. He's actually sitting on a big battery, or laying on a big battery, so I need to get that taken care of. Today is show day. Midwest Skies has a show over in Bay City today, which is about a 3.5 hour drive. So we're gonna rehearse at noon, try to leave by 2, get there by 5. We play at 9:30. Show ends at 10:30, which means we'll stick around till 11:30ish. Go get some Taco Bell, which will take us to midnight, and then get home around 3:30 or 4 in the morning. Which is how it works with those Bay City shows. We are playing with our friends in Beach Glass, Kept on Hold, and Bring Your Best. So by the time this episode comes out, that show will have already occurred. And then we'll talk about other Midwest Skies related things shortly. But right now, just quickly, before we get into the rest of the episode, as an update, because the last episode I was talking about my teeth. If you did not catch the last episode, just as a quick refresher, I had a tooth infection in a tooth that has already been root canaled and crowned. If you're interested in the details of the injury that was sustained in order for that to happen, go ahead and check out that episode. Main thing is the tooth snapped, and then I had to have a root canal done, and as well as a crown put on. And this tooth, my front, whatever you call it, buck tooth, is fake. So the plan was go to the dentist and pray to God that I don't need to leave with no tooth, because as I sit before you today, obviously you can tell that is not the case. I did not need a new tooth. But man, the ego hit that I would have taken if I did not have a front tooth would have absolutely crushed me. But right now, I've been put on antibiotics to clear up the tooth infection. And then what I thought was going to happen was I was going to need another root canal, and then they were just going to replace the crown. That is not the case. Apparently so much damage was sustained the last time, which apparently I had an update in like 2013 or something like that, which I guess is over 10 years ago at this point, but I was not aware that had happened. They had done another drilling of the tooth and had a more permanent crown put on. But there was so much damage sustained to that general area that now I cannot structurally hold a new root canal and crown. So when they told me that, I was like, oh no, this is bad. This is like worst case scenario. I'm going to leave with no tooth. But turns out it might be a weird best of both worlds situations in that the solution was one of the less expensive solutions, but also one of the weirder ones. So I clearly, big smiles. I've got my tooth in still. But in a few weeks, I'm going to go back to have the tooth extracted completely. And then I'm going to have a flipper, which for what it's worth is one of those things that like that people's like, hey, you want to see a party trick? And then they just smile, and then they go, and they flip their tooth up and down. It's just like it's not an implant, which is something that I can do. That is a more permanent solution. But this is what they considered the temporary permanent solution, in that it can be as temporary or permanent as I would like for it to be. Um, yeah, it's one of those teeth that it's one of those things that mounts in around your gums, or around your upper gum line, the roof of your mouth, and then pushes up against the rest of the teeth, and then you can kind of put in like a retainer, like a removable retainer, and it just sits comfortably in between the two teeth, and then I just have to take it out at night, which is going to be it's just a weird recognition of age, honestly, like losing teeth in that regard, which is funny because you lose your teeth when you're younger, and it's like, hell yeah, I'm about to get paid. And then when you're older, it's, oh no, somebody's about to get paid. And the excitement is gone completely. I think conceptually it's a funny thing that is going to have to happen. And then again, if I decide later on that I want to get an actual implant done, which I assume that I will want to get that done, that'll be a permanent solution, then I'll do that. But right now, we're just clearing out the infection from the tooth. And then next time I go out there, we're going to completely extract the root. And then your boy's going to have a flipper. So you know that the video version of this is going to be blessed with that from time to time. Yeah, so I just wanted to provide you guys an update. Thank you for the well wishes. Again, I'm very glad that I did not end up needing to... I'm so glad that I didn't end up needing to walk out with no tooth, because, brother, what a mental health day that would have been.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a punk house, it's a punk home. You can find this banner and others like it, as well as this silly goose on the loose hat, these etched mirrors, these custom charm bracelets, and so much more by heading to Cat and Crew, that's KATANDCREW.com, and entering the promo code Monday, that's MUNDAY, for 10% off your first purchase. Katie and Andrew, one of the first supporters of this show, have made a 10% discount available for A.D.H.Deep-Dive listeners. See store for details, of course, but they've got so many cool punk home products, decor. You don't have to be a punk, that's okay, that's all right. Tattoos for your home, koozies, wall banners, a hot sauce. Oh my God, keep your eyes peeled for that. So again, if you want this is not a punk house, this is a punk home banner. If you want this silly goose on a loose hat, if you want etched mirrors, if you want custom charm bracelets, so much more, go to Cat and Crew, KATANDCREW.com, enter the promo code Monday, that's MUNDAY, for 10% off your first purchase. Thank you very much to Katie and Andrew for sponsoring the show. Let's get back to the podcast.
Also, big thanks to Dr. Thompson at Lake City Family Dentistry. That was the dentist that I went to growing up. It used to be Dr. Susan Vignola in Lake City, Michigan. But the practice was bought by someone that I went to school with back in the day. So big thanks to the team and to the doctor dentist himself, Mitch Thompson. A wild, small world situation in that somebody I went to school with is now the dentist who's doing the work on my face. Great staff, great people. They seemed very friendly, and they were willing to help me find a solution that did not completely and utterly destroy my bank account, which is great. Now, on to the rest. I want to talk a little bit about being colorblind. Also, I can just see in the camera the eye bags on top of eye bags right now. I'm sleepy. I'm underslept. I'm a little bit stressed. And whatever. And also the lighting isn't great, so whatever. Shooting in my bedroom from my phone. So be it. So let's talk about being colorblind a little bit. One thing that I have learned as I have progressed in my photo and video career is that, first of all, my ability to capture a good image I think is I'm in a good place there. I know what a good image looks like, and I think that does separate. I mean, maybe this is obvious on its face, but that does separate bad photographers from good photographers, good cinematographers from bad cinematographers, good directors from bad directors. And my ability to capture the good image, not just knowing what it looks like, but my ability to capture the image has improved tenfold over the last few years. And I'm really, whatever, to toot my own horn, I am impressed with my ability to spot a good image. Where I have major shortcomings is in color grading, color correction, just post work when it comes to color. For those who don't know, I am colorblind. I do not see in black and white, and we're going to actually talk about what I actually do see and what I don't see and what I thought that I saw but I apparently don't see, versus what I know, which is a big difference. I'm what is referred to as a deuteranope. I have deuteranopia, which means I don't see in its fullest tones red. So what I used to do is I would draw for people a little diagram. I would say RG, which is red and green, and then below that I'd do YO, which is yellow, orange, and then below that I'd do blue, purple. So when you put those things on a line, some of them are shades of red. So your red, your orange, your purple all contain shades of red. And if this is wrong, we're going to get to that. I have written down some information about how my color knowledge is actually based in some ignorance and uneducation, and not just in my inability to see the colors itself. So, so when I would do that, I would draw a line between R and G, red and green. I can't see the difference between those two often. Yellow and orange, I can't see the difference between those two often. Blue and purple, I can't see the difference between those two often, because when red gets put into one of those colors, especially if it's just a little bit, I can't tell that it's been added. So the assumption, my best understanding of how it is I see the world versus how you see the world, is I see things, especially with red, much more desaturated than you do. Again, it doesn't mean I see in black and white or just shades of brown, although again, we'll get to that as well. It's that red, for me, is, oh, no kidding, I have a little light here, so if you're, a light switch here, light remote here, if you're watching the video version, there's a whole panel here of lights. So this is to control an RGB light that I have somewhere around the house right now. And if you look, there's R, it's marked R, and then down there is all the shades of R, which is red, a different type of red, orange, all the way into the yellows. These, especially middle buttons, those middle buttons, so not the one at the top and not the one at the very bottom, look identical to me. So the more faint that red becomes, the less I see it specifically. So I can tell a little bit the difference between which, and I'm sorry for the lighting here, you can't really see. There's a green panel next to it. I can tell that the red is lighter than the green. But unless they were specifically marked, it would be kind of difficult for me to tell you which one is which. When things get darker, they start to get like a little muddy, and they start to look like brown to me, especially greens, which is confusing to me because if I don't see red, or if I have a harder time seeing red, I don't fully understand why the greens would be affected. So this is kind of the thing, right? I have a total fundamental misunderstanding of what it is I actually see because... Well, let's back it up a little bit. So, some of the things, and I think we've talked about this on the podcast before, a long time ago. Guys, I'm almost, if not already, I am almost 3 years into doing this podcast, which if I did it weekly would put us at about 150 episodes. I'm at, what, is this 86, 85, something like that? I skipped some, I missed some, whatever. I only talk when I got something to say. And right now, I got something to say. And it's that I am ignorant at best when it comes to colors. Disabled. Put me in the disabled community for more reasons than one. Anyways, when I was younger, um, when you're graduating kindergarten, right, or preschool or whatever. I'd have to talk to my parents more specifically about how this worked out. But some of the basic fundamentals that you need to know in order to progress in school, especially when you're that young, is like some of your basics. So their ability to understand their ABCs, their ability to communicate with others, their ability to understand colors. I don't know if you got to be the best reader at that time, but you got to be able to like understand some basic words. Um, and it's just some core principles. I think that's the bare minimum for grading when it comes to like moving a kid on to the next grade when they're in kindergarten or preschool or whatever, that young. Um, and there was some consideration throughout that tenure when I'm 5 or 6 years old that my teachers are like, he he's not really understanding his colors very well, which does not automatically mean that I'm colorblind. Um, it's obviously something worth considering at that point, but you know, until you know, you don't know. So it's like maybe he's just having some like issues understanding. So we need to work with him a little bit more, and that might mean that he needs to be held back or whatever. I was not held back, but that's when the discovery process started to come in. That like, oh, this kid's colorblind, um, which in and of itself is just a weird word. Colorblind is a misrepresentation of colorblindness. For some people, it is accurate. They see no colors. It's just black and white or sepia tone. Those are actually rare occurrences, like strikingly rare occurrences, I believe. I'm actually using my phone right now to record, so I can't look up these statistics. But my understanding is that seeing in black and white or seeing in sepia tone is the most rare version of color blindness. So yeah, I just think that the word itself is a bit of a weird descriptor in what is otherwise just color deficiency. And my deficiency, in particular, is red. Also, sorry, I realize I keep tossing my legs up. You can see my bare ass pasty white legs because I got my shorts on. That's just one of the benefits that you get out of the video version. So if you watch on Spotify or YouTube, you actually get to see my pasty bare ass white legs. So anyways, that's when the discovery process kind of began in determining if that truly was what it was, if it was color blindness, which it appeared to be. And then just like a handful of things happened after that kind of like confirmed it. So I have these specific memories when I was younger of like if a storm was rolling in and we were meant to go down to the basement because maybe there was a tornado or something like that coming. One of the things that I would like to do is sit and watch the Weather Channel. Not necessarily out of fear, but out of like, whoa, this is like, so this big like patch of, when they pull the radar up, this big patch of like moving color is the storm. That was like fun for me to understand. But obviously a lot of that is color coded by severity of the storm. And I guess I would lob out like, so this big brown patch that's moving in, like, so that's the rain. My parents would have to be like, well, that's actually red, but yes, conceptually you are correct. So like slowly over time things start getting confirmed. Yes, this kid is colorblind. He's not just an idiot. He just has a hard time seeing red. And then just to quickly lob it out, and I don't I'm not trying to fault my parents for this. They mean well. They're good parents. But as a kid, I had these, like, as everybody does, these childish ambitions of being an astronaut. And I loved, every kid does, but I loved space. I loved learning about all our different planets and learning about our galaxies. And I was like a little autistic encyclopedia of intergalactic knowledge. And if there was no word count on titles, that would have been the episode. Autistic encyclopedia of intergalactic knowledge. Um, Anyways, I wanted to be an astronaut. I wanted to know everything there was to learn about space and planets and galaxies and space travel, and I really liked learning about astronauts themselves. I was propagandized hard by NASA, but the space discovery stuff was really exciting to me. Um, and something they shouldn't have said, but that they just did say, was one day I was talking about like, so yeah, when I go to school to be an astronaut, whatever, and my mom, bless her heart, said something along the lines of like, oh kiddo, well, I thought you knew by now that like, because you're colorblind, you're probably not going to be able to be an astronaut. And there was this like tunnel vision moment where all of up to that point when I was what, 10 or 11, all of my dreams and ambitions came crashing down around me for this one instance where my mom said, "You're not going to be able to be an astronaut, kiddo. I mean, you're colorblind." Um which isn't even necessarily true. I don't know how true that is. And again, she was not trying to be like, give up on your dreams. I don't know why she said it. Probably a lapse of judgment. Maybe shouldn't have said it. Whatever. But I remember that being the turning point for ignorance. So, aside from just being able to see the color red, or rather, let me put different inflection on that. And aside from just being able to see the color red, in that moment, a lot shifted in my brain. In that apparently there is now recognition that there are many things I won't be able to do because I can't see the color red very well. All varying in severity, obviously. And again, this astronaut thing, was I going to ever be an astronaut? Likely not. Uh, there's so much more to being an astronaut than just being interested in space, which, whatever. Again, it was the propaganda that got me. Um, Even not being able to see color. You think I'm going to get a job at NASA? Unlikely. But, whatever. Up to that point, again, dreams and ambitions crushed. But there was a recognition that there are certain things in life that I am not going to be able to do because I'm colorblind, because I'm color deficient. And at that point, this is where it kind of directly ties to right now. It appeared to me that this could be a cop-out. Not like intentionally, like, hell yeah, now I get to not do things because I'm colorblind. But there was a handful of things that I could physically say, sorry, I can't do this, I'm colorblind. Um, and admittedly, throughout school, there was a handful of assignments that I just, whatever I passed or got, or whatever, was exempt from because I'm colorblind. I probably used that to my advantage a few more times than was warranted. I don't know. But like you can't really argue with it. And there was a bunch of kids who, especially if we had like a substitute teacher or whatever, where I was like, I can't do it, I'm colorblind. They'd go like, yeah, sure. And then I'd have kids in school be like, no, for real, like he's colorblind. And then there's a whole like, well, shit, what do we do with this? I guess you're just not gonna fail, but you're not gonna pass. You're just exempt from it. So what happened is, and I kind of make jokes about this going forward, is like, again, in kindergarten, you got to know blue, green, yellow, orange, purple, black, white, maybe some pink. But as you get older, you learn about things like navy blue and fuchsia and magenta and what other versions of colors. This is kind of directly the point. I stopped dead in my tracks. It's like when you learn your alphabet, from there you learn words. From there, you learn bigger words. Then you learn how to weave the words in a certain way to communicate more eloquently. Um, and some people just kind of stop dead in their tracks. They go, I can't read, so I'm just gonna not educate myself by reading. And for me, it was kind of that way with colors. I just gave up on my understanding of colors, even the colors I could see, because I was like, well, whatever. I'm colorblind, right? There's nothing for me here. This world ain't for me, which has really directly fucked me as an adult in the career field that I have pursued. Now, to maybe speed up this process a little bit, are there workarounds for me? Certainly. And something I've actually considered is artistically trying to lean into black and white photography a little bit more. Is that a cop out? Maybe. But with my limited understanding of color and how color is fused to make other colors. Again, just my whole understanding of how color works is literally elementary. I never really progressed further in like, if you're familiar with image editing, there are many other breakdowns, but there are your shadows, your midtones, and your highlights. This image right here, you'll see, especially if you're watching the video version, you see white here, you see green in the plants, and then my blanket on my bed is blue. But this blue contains shades. The greens are like, accented by yellow. There are highlights in these colors aside from just the base color itself, and then there is a contrast between the range of those colors. This is just base image shot in my phone. If I wanted to artistically color grade this to make you feel something, that feels impossible to me. So like one of the primary examples is when I'm shooting wedding photos or wedding video. You can probably wrap your brain around, especially now, there's like I say now there's a trend, but like there's a style of wedding imagery. It's kind of, my understanding of this is, again, still elementary, but like sepia toned, muted colors with like a yellowish highlight. They're warm tones. And I know what that looks like. I can picture it in my mind. But I have absolutely no idea how to emulate that style. Because what it demands is understanding your shadows, your midtones, and your highlights, and understanding where to put color, where to take color from, where to shift color. I just don't understand how to do that. And I think it is directly because when I was younger, I just gave up on my understanding of color. And so now when I look at an image like that again, I know what I'm looking at. I can see it in my brain, but I don't know the metadata. I don't know what is contained within that image. Which again is good in the sense that like I know what a good image looks like. That helps me. That sets me apart. But it stops there. It does not go any further than that. And so all that to say, I've been shooting a lot of weddings lately. And what I'm trying to do desperately is find my own style, which I think you should do anyways. I think everybody should do anyways, is find your own style. You don't need to emulate. But it's good to have a rudimentary understanding of color and contrast and tones. And now as a 31-year-old dude, I feel so childish because my understanding of color is elementary. It's so basic. And I'm finding that is becoming a hindrance on this career. And there are, of course, there are many people who, especially in the film industry, there is a job called colorist, which if you're familiar at all, or even if you're not familiar, there's a there's a method of shooting called shooting flat or shooting log, which means that you have more control on the variables of your image because you shoot in completely like majorly desaturated. You remove all the contrast. Highlights are drawn way down. The exposure's bumped down a bit. There's no real shadow work, so that when you capture a raw image, everything is flat, and then you can creatively add some of that color back in, add some of that contrast back in, add some of that shadow back in, add some of the highlights, or adjust, exposure metering or coloring where you want to fit it to your own personal style. And there are most Hollywood films are shot like that, shot in log, and then it's edited, put it on timeline, and then those images are sent to a colorist who not only brings color and shadow and contrast back into the image, but creatively communicates a feeling with color tones, certain colors being put in the shadow. There are like specific contrasting colors that communicate an emotion. And it is a colorist's job to bring that into the image. So I'm not saying that every editor or every photographer or every videographer has that expert level knowledge of color. But man, I would be so much further in this career if I had a better understanding of color. And that is just it's thrown me off a little bit lately, especially because I'm doing a lot more video work, photo work. So I'm trying to find new ways to capture images to kind of break the mold, to be my own style, which I'm trying to get into like double exposure. I'm trying to. A friend of mine, Gavin, taught me a new way of editing images to make them kind of like soft and dreamy. So I'm going to start rolling out a few more photos. Which if you actually check out my website, davidjmund.com, it contains my portfolio, but it also links to my Flickr, which is my just my photo stream. It's my photography portfolio basically. So you'll find on that photo stream that I'm going to start uploading some more images that I think represent my new understanding of editing. So thanks to Gavin for that. But yeah. I think that's all I wanted to say about that. It's interesting how color works. So interesting, in fact, that I have absolutely no idea how to work it. And I had a whole other thing that I was going to talk about. I was going to talk about burning CDs at Walmart and nostalgia for the iPod Nano. But maybe we'll leave that to another day. I've got to get going. I got to get breakfast. I got to get ready. I got to get the dogs around. I'm taking the dogs over to Emma Sheridan's house before I leave for the show. It's going to be a long day today. It's a house show. So, yeah. If you have not at this point, maybe it's not your thing. I'm doing Let's Plays of the game Don't Starve on Thursdays. So right now, Mondays are the podcast, Thursdays are the Let's Play. I'm having a lot of fun with the game. One day it will come to an end because my character will die, and then I'll either move on to another game or I'll just stop that series. Or maybe I'll pick up one more playthrough as a different character, but having a lot of fun as it is. I'm building a little community over there, which is really nice. It got picked up kind of in the algorithm a little bit, so a lot of those initial views were from people who had never seen the YouTube channel before, which is nice that you can like break down kind of the metadata a little bit and the analytics on YouTube. And I discovered that some of those early episodes were watched mostly by people who weren't subscribed, and then over time, while the views stayed the same or even ramped up, people were subscribing from the Don't Starve Let's Play. So it's really cool. That's kind of how this works, right? You do more, you get more exposure. then people find that you're doing other things, and then they enjoy those other things, and then they share, and then they tell their friends, and then you got more viewers, and that's awesome. And I'm really appreciating the people who have tuned in to that Let's Play. So Thursdays on the channel have been Don't Starve Let's Plays. Shit, man. I think that's all we got. What else we got? I mean, I can promote shows, but we don't really have anything until the end of August. RIP to the venue Turnstiles in Grand Rapids. It's one of the first places I ever got to play in Grand Rapids live. It's shutting down for economy reasons. It's not my business to know more than that. I wish I did know more than that, but it seems like the economy is just not doing that place any favors. So RIP to Turnstiles. Be sure to check out Cat and Crew. That's KATANDCREW. Enter the promo code Monday for 10% off your first purchase. Accessories, wall decor, tattoos for your home, a hot sauce. You've probably already seen it. Because I edit from my phone a lot lately, I've been forgetting to throw in the Cat and Crew ad. I'm going to try and make sure that I get that done. But we're going to have Katie and Andrew of Cat and Crew on the show soon in the next couple weeks here because they're putting on a music festival that we are playing at the end of August. So I'm pretty hyped about that, and we're going to talk to them about the show. Fwig. What do I even talk about at this point? I think that's it, guys. So thank you very much for tuning into the A.D.H.Deep-Dive, the show that's not about ADHD, but is filled with proof it exists. My name is David J. Mund. I love you, and I'll see you next time.